Spencer Yates says, hello Dutch. As fans of history of pro wrestling, we have heard tales of St. Louis and Kansas City being strongholds for the NWA since 1948. Wrestling at the Chase from Sam Mushnick's St. Louis Wrestling Club and Central States Wrestling at Kansas City has been talked about by legends like the Funks, Harley Race and Ric Flair as the place to make it as a pro wrestler. With those two offices or territories being held in such high esteem from wrestling legends, however, almost every wrestler I have listened to speak about the area from about 1980 onward, said the crowds were small, pay was terrible, and they couldn't wait to leave. And I think this is especially with Kansas City. The only insight I have heard about what caused business to go down in Missouri was from your dear and always honest friend Ric Flair, saying that Bob Geigel was the worst promoter of all time. I would like to know if you would have any insight to what caused the downfall of wrestling in that area. Thank you for your time and love the show. So the downfall of Bob Geigel in Kansas City specifically, and the Missouri area.
If you ever saw the show, you'd know. The TV show was the shits.
In what way?
It was just bad. It was just a bad show. It had a bad announcer. I mean, it was studio wrestling. And then they, at the top heel, they had Bob Brown, who was 5'8", weighed about 210 pounds, maybe. And he doesn't have a good presentation. I mean, the show was just bad. And he had no creativity about it. It was just a wrestling show. And you watched it, and not a lot of people watched it. And you know, St. Joe, Missouri is close to Kansas City, and that was like a weekly town, like a Friday night town, and a big building too. It'd probably seat 5,000 people. They might have 200 people sitting out there on a Friday night, or maybe 300, but you could put 500 in that building, and it'd still look empty. I don't know why they continued to run it. Kansas City was terrible. I mean, You would think that that's the biggest, that's their anchor town, and that's their hometown. They did zero there. The best town when I was there was Topeka and Wichita, and it's only because I'm not saying me, but I came up with this gimmick that the Oates boys were leaving. So I said, why don't we have a loser leave town match? And I learned a big lesson from this too. And we went to Wichita and Topeka, and they weren't sold out, but they were a hell of a lot better than they normally were. But when the Oates brothers lost, you could just hear this in the building. Because we didn't pay it off. Now, if we had lost, oh, that's a big one. You know, but the Oates boys were leaving, so I don't know what else we had to do in that, but I learned a valuable lesson by trying to even arrange that, because if you're not going to blow that off in a positive way, you really hurt yourself coming forward. Because the Oates brothers, they were over in the territory. Ted and I forgot his brother's name. Ted and I forgot his name.
Porridge.
But anyway,
Porridge Oates.
What's his name?
I'm joking. I just said Porridge.
Porridge Oates.
Come on.
Oh my God! I went, what?
It's Jerry.
Jerry. Jerry Oates is his name, and I remember with a little prod from James. But when they lost, brother, when we come back a week later or 2 weeks later, it was crickets. You could I've said this before, you could shoot off a shotgun in the place and not hit anybody. And we weren't making any money. I could not wait to get out of there. This Bob Geigel didn't know how to book, and he didn't want to bring a booker in. And if you don't want to bring somebody in that will kind of has knowledge of how to book a territory, then you're just you're dead on arrival. And that territory it was horrible. And if you made St. Louis, now the same people didn't run St. Louis. They just sent talent over there because it was the closest territory. but you would have a good week. If you didn't have St. Louis, forget it, because your week was going to suck. I spent about 6 months there, and at 6 months, I will never ever be able to get back, and I regret for even going for 6 months.
I've seen Dusty and Rick, where Rick won the NWA title for the first time, like the footage, and the production values of that place is like the Lumiere brothers in 1890 had better production than Kansas City in 1981. It's shocking.
Horrible. It was horrible TV. It was just from the production to the creativity of the show. Even the announcers were bad. It was horrible. Camera shots, it was all. It was. I mean, we could pick it to death, but I think we've already told. We've read the obituary of it, so we know how it ended up.